So, how many of you like to travel? Alright. I'm sure there are a few of you who have probably left the country and been somewhere else. The furthest I've ever traveled is to New York, New York. The reason why you should listen to my speech is so you can have a better understanding of what New York is actually like and, not from the movies. When I was in New York, I went to Times Square. I also saw a Broadway show, and I went to the beach a lot, and that will be what I will be speaking about. My first topic is going to Times Square. Like in the movies, it does look like that. There's lots of billboards, lots of bright lights, and a ton of people. There's also a ton of different stores, like one store for anything you can think of. Like there's a whole store for M&Ms. There's a Disney store. There's a store for Forrest Gump. And there's also stairs like in the middle of Times Square. I can't remember what they're called, but when I was in Times Square, we also got food and we went to eat at Ruby Tuesdays, and we all got steak. It was really good actually. They also had a bunch of different drinks that I wasn't really familiar with, non-alcoholic. I also went to a Broadway show when I was in New York, and we saw the musical Wicked, which had a lot of different sets, which was really cool. And if you don't know who Idina Menzel is, she's the girl who played Elsa, so I saw her on Broadway as well. And I sat in the balcony, and they had an intermission, and they had drinks named after the characters in the play. They also had little cups that you could take home for souvenirs. And I also ended up buying new clothes in New York for the Broadway play, because who doesn't like shopping for clothes? And I also, when I was in New York, I went to the beach a lot, because there's so many beaches around there. And one time when I went to the beach there, a storm rolled in, and they had to close the beach. And while me and my sister were changing, we came out, and there was just thunder, lightning, lots of rain, and it was really windy. And we had to walk back to the subway, because in New York you don't want to drive anywhere because of traffic. So as we were walking back to the subway, the wind started picking up sand and throwing it at us, and it kind of just felt like a bunch of tiny pin needles stabbing all over your body. Another time I went to the beach, we also ran into fishermen that were fishing with nets, and oftentimes we find the little flatfish that look really weird and have the two eyes on the top of their head and they're just completely flat. I don't really know what they're called. And they wouldn't want those ones, so they take them out of the net and throw them back into the water. But me and my friends, when we were kids, we were looking at them, so they just gave us a bunch of these flat fish, and then we took them home. And then we also found a coconut on the beach, which was really interesting because there's no coconut trees. So we just think that the tide brought it in from Hawaii or something, who knows. We also had a beach in my backyard, and when the tide would come in, and it was really high tide, the ocean would actually be at our porch, which was really cool, and then there would be a bunch of seaweed and stuff in our yard. But we also used to collect crabs, and then we would paint them and then put them back into the water. So in conclusion, I went to Times Square. I went and saw Wicked on Broadway. And I also went to the beach a lot, which is something that you should do if you go to New York. And I hope that maybe this speech has inspired you to go travel more and maybe go see New York.